Missions are the real meat and potatoes of the Armored Core franchise. While things like online play are exceptionally popular, and other things like the arena have their own spin-offs and are also dominant in play patterns, missions are far and away the main pull of the games. We all love a good AC on AC battle, but a mission where an AC battle takes place and there is a narrative being crafted? Mwah. Mainline that stuff into my veins, please. Armored Core 1 has a total of 46 missions, 47 if you include the Raven test, and many of them are loved for a multitude of reasons. Their combat, their lines, their music, lots of things. In today's ranking video, I'm going to order all 47 missions in what I believe is worst to best. Now, it will be impossible to keep everyone happy, so this is going to be my list. If you got your favorites or least favorites, I want to hear them in the comments. But I'm sure that there will be some overlap between the majority and my opinions, but I'm also sure that there will be some hot takes too. Also, I'm going to assume that we aren't always using the most busted setups. Some of these missions can literally be done in a few seconds if you use the right build. And I do want to preface this whole video that AC1 is my absolute favorite in the series. I love all the missions, even the bottom ranked ones. So without further ado, let's rank all 47 missions in Armored Core 1. Number 47, Repulse Enemy Attack. I'm sure many old heads just shuddered a bit when I said the name of this mission. Repulse Enemy Attack is the mission I hate to see pop up in the middle of my AC1 playthroughs. Repulse Enemy Attack combines the unholy trinity of weird escort mission, enemies that are a huge pain in the ass to hit with the wrong weapons, and the ability to fall out of the mission to instantly fail. You do get some small turrets to help defend the blimp. Yeah, we're on a blimp. But they get destroyed pretty quickly. And going into this one blind is a real test on how good you understand targeting mechanics. But if the planes just decide to float around below the blimp and gun down the escort target, there isn't a whole lot you can do. Leaving the blimp is asking to get pushed around by the plane machine guns that for some reason have the knockback of a bazooka round, and they will quickly knock you into the inescapable zone where you bottom out your energy and just fall to your death. And the level has this annoying high-pitched hum the whole time too, from the blimp. I could keep going on about the things I hate about this mission, but I don't want this video to be 2 hours in length, covering every nitty-gritty detail. So I'll just say it here, Repulse Enemy Attack sucks. Number 46, Release Organisms. Big maze missions are nothing new in the Armored Core franchise. In fact, I think FromSoft knows that players absolutely love this archetype of mission, but there's a certain balance that you need to hit for them to be remembered in a positive light. Maybe a bumpin' soundtrack, a memorable enemy at the end, not being annoyed for the entirety of the mission with the sound of klaxons and alarms going off. I could go on. Release Organisms has literally none of these previously mentioned things. The whole mission entails just going around releasing the fan favorite biological centurion bugs. But the absolute majority of these enemies in the mission are roof-mounted turrets that fire one shot, then reload forever. On top of this, the layout of the facility just sucks. They sort of attempt to fix this problem by putting these different colored stripes on the wall, but if you don't have an auto map feature, trying to actually find where you are going in here to let the little gremlins out is an exercise in frustration. On top of that, once you break the first cage, you get to listen to that annoying alarm for the rest of the mission. The sunset that the Mustang MT is appreciating at the start of the mission is pretty though. That's an upside, I guess. Number 45, Exterminate Organisms 2. Whoa, am I getting deja vu, or am I just going mental from spending so much time in this chemical dyeing facility? Maybe a bit of both? Exterminate Organisms 2 is the continuation mission from the previously mentioned Release Organisms. Takes place in the same facility, but is at least marginally more entertaining than the previous mission by allowing us to shoot the bugs this time. It's funny because you can get both of these and be like, seriously? Now I gotta clean up all the stuff I did? Okay. One thing I forgot to mention about this facility in the previous entry is the fact that the bottom floors are just devoid of things. A few bugs here and there, and one big boy if you can find the room, but it's a lot of empty space. When I did these missions as a kid, I played with tank legs, and I was miserable. That being said, doing these missions with a fast bipedal build isn't much better. The biggest difference between this one and Release Organisms is the fact that the queens actually make a noise, so you can actually figure out where the hell you're going. Sorta. Number 44. Destroy Space Catapult. A Chrome support path mission. So this mission is actually not bad if you know what you're doing, but is an absolute pain in the rear as a first time playthrough. You feel like you're going to go up to this cool space station and then bam, guess what? You gotta run. But they lock the doors behind you, so now you need to figure out how to get out, but there's like ramps and extra doors and a timer putting pressure on you. Well, it doesn't matter. The whole mission is just a big rectangle. Easy peasy. I think the reason I put this one so low is that it's just a nothing burger of a mission. Barely any enemies, a mostly dumb gimmick that preys on people that don't know the layout perfectly, aka everybody at the start, and a mission briefing that lasts longer than the mission itself. It's just not great. There isn't too much else to say about it. At least it's over relatively fast if you find the right way out. If not, enjoy your agonizing 3-minute countdown before you get Murakumo battleshipped. Number 43. Rescue Transport Truck. Our first mission that takes place in the starting half of the game. Rescue Transport Truck does let us have that cool underground lighting aesthetic that I personally love in real life too, with real life tunnels and stuff, but is immediately broken by the fact that cars just drive into you right at the start of the mission if you don't get out of the way soon enough. And yeah, you have to pay for those. That's a pretty small qualm though. I just always found it kind of stupid. Where the real issue is the fact that the enemies in this mission are a much bigger threat to the main objective than you actually dying. These bastards are equipped with shotguns and will just fire them if they feel like it in your general direction. This isn't really a problem for the first few, but the ones that show up as reinforcements are the real problem. The battlefield edges are so tight that you can't effectively intercept them before the combat zone starts to fight around the truck. And you better believe those guys are just going to start blasting when they come in. If you're anywhere near the truck, or behind the truck, or anywhere really, these guys are going to destroy the truck. And it's just annoying. Also, do these drivers not know what brakes are? Guess I'll die. Number 42. Stop Security MT. Tell me, Raven, do you like navigating mazes? How about navigating mazes with locked doors everywhere? No? Too bad. Get in the robot. This mission is fun in the aspect that it is a big puzzle. However, there are almost no landmarks to help you find your way where you're actually going in this mission. Now that's kind of a common theme with Generation 1 Armored Core games, but in this mission, it is particularly bad because there are laser barriers that just obliterate you if you walk through them. I know when I was a kid, I was looking for a way to disable these things so that I could get to the end of the hallway. This, of course, was fruitless since the intended path of the mission was to just go around and find another way. You can sort of cheese this mission by getting the Cerberus MTs on the other side of the walls to blow up the gate locks for you, letting you through the doors quicker. But if you don't know which doors have gate locks, which doors have Cerberuses on the other side, or if you foolishly left your auto map at home, this method will not help you. When you do find all the panels, it isn't that bad, but this weird futuristic hospital texture that is super sanitized that they use through the whole mission is super disorienting. Not a huge fan of this mission on the Armored Core 1 replays. Number 41. Destroy Base Generator. Another mission on the Chrome support path, which sucks because these missions in concept are really cool. Going up into space and mucking around in Murakumo Millennium stuff. But this mission is just an elevator simulator with a very unforgiving escape timer once you pop the generators at the end of the level. Don't get me wrong, it's really intense to get out in time, and I like that aspect of the mission, but the part I don't like is the weird moon base layout they have. The whole thing is just a weird level designed to turn you around and waste your time, and places don't really go anywhere. Not to mention the giant pit with an AC at the bottom they have for some reason at the middle of the damn base. It reminds me of that path Mr. Incredible walks on to get to the computer in The Incredibles. The escape portion of the mission, you can of course prep the elevators by either flying up the shafts or leaving them at the bottom, or setting them back down before you blow up the generator room. Of course, both of these options require you to know that you're going to need to run out of the base at a moment's notice. I haven't checked to see if this mission is fully possible to escape with tank legs, but I'm pretty sure that it would be really close, if at all possible. Hunting all the ACs is fun for the bonus payout, and I love the fact that these ACs are just way bigger than you. Kind of boring in the first half, but makes up for it in the second half. Number 40. Guard Factory Entrance. One of the missions that takes place in the Whiteland region, which is personally my favorite of the regions in 1st Gen. Unfortunately, this mission is the far inferior brother of the Whiteland duo in Armored Core 1. This mission requires you to defend a lock system from 2 waves of Murakumo attackers. Pretty easy, right? One being all planes, and another being hybrid planes and ACs. Now, unfortunately, because of this being a night mission, the planes are kind of hard to see and also just don't move like planes. They slam into the ground, they circle you, they do whatever the hell they feel like. They're more like zigzaggy boys zipping around and blasting away at the lock while you helplessly fire shots in their general direction. I'm being hyperbolic, of course, but these guys are absolute masters of evading your attacks. It's kind of cool that the AI is good enough that if you are shooting at one, another one will break off to go and attack the lock. This mission isn't that bad, it's just painfully annoying as the Sagiri ACs that jump you are absolutely incredible at shredding the target if you aren't careful. If you're a psycho and want to risk the mission, you can go pick up the BT-001 in the corner. But man, that's a gamble. I just don't really find this mission nearly as enjoyable as the Murakumo Millennium equivalent, but it's not horrible by any stretch of the imagination. Just more of a letdown because the other is so good. Number 39, Rescue Survey Team. So this one, I actually don't really mind that much, but I've been watching some friends play the game recently for the first time, and I think that my viewpoint might be a bit skewed, obviously, because I've beaten Armored Core 1 so many times. The mazing and hidden alleyways aren't that bad as a vet, but the real problem is the fact that there are just so many enemies. And to top off that they're highly resistant to energy weapons in the game, which I find new players tend to gravitate towards. I can only imagine the nightmare that a new player had to endure having to go through this mission because they were just able to afford their new XP-1000 pulse rifle or something. They would think that thing is complete garbage because of this mission. I'm all for letting people figure out certain units have resistances, but this mission is just 100% energy resistant enemies, which can be super punishing for new players. On top of that, unless you're good at movement to skip all of the Crusaders, you almost pretty much need to kill every MT in your path because of the collision jankiness present in the 1st generation games. I do want to emphasize that this mission isn't bad per se, just that I needed a sobering reminder of how the general game space design maybe wasn't the best for it. I do love my little jittery spider bots though. They do have a habit of showing up in plenty of missions where ammo or HP are major issues. Fear the Crusader. Number 38. Destroy Intruders. Our first mission on this list for the Murakumo support path and has some pretty unique aesthetic for the game. Going into a giant furnace is pretty cool. Well, pretty hot. Whatever. But outside of that, the mission doesn't have too much going for it. The general anxiety you feel as you have to navigate the thin pieces of scaffolding is pretty palpable and makes for some good suspense for an Armored Core game. And touching down in the lava to watch your AP slowly evaporate is a good time. 6 MTs is a little bit underwhelming though for such an endgame mission, especially since they really aren't special in any way. If you're an absolute masochist, you can of course find the FG-99 flamethrower weapon on this mission, which is an absolute pile that accomplishes pretty much nothing for the entire game. So this mission has that going for it, I guess. Outside of that, there isn't too much to say about this mission. Fly around in a hot tube and kill the MTs. If the fire damage ramped up the lower you got, I think the mission would be much more interesting. And the Armored Core 3 remake of this mission is significantly better in my opinion. But its simplicity does have a charm. Blow up the robots in a lava tube and get paid. Easy. Number 37. Capture Space Station. This mission is pretty much what the previously mentioned Destroy Space Catapult should have just been. A big, sprawling space station with lots of hard-hitting enemies that kill your giant space bishop allies. I think it's this point in the list where I should say that all the missions moving forward are passable or even good. So the ranking on these more middle missions, take with a grain of salt. The only reason I put this one so low is the fact that the dispatchers do an absolutely miserable job of helping you locate the material. Sure, they tell you to get some material from a catapult and load it onto a truck, but don't tell you where the catapult is, what the material looks like, or where the truck is. I hated this mission as a kid. I remember it taking me an exceptionally long time and getting right pissed off at the fact that the weird box was right on the edge of the mission area. That's where secret parts should be, not critical mission material. The layout of the space station always weirded me out too. How do these giant MTs get through all of these locked doors? They're far too large for the little alleyways in between, aren't they? Maybe they got locked in between engagements. I don't know. Looking out at the stars is pretty, and really hammered home that you are in space, which was hard for me to register as a kid since everything was underground or in bases for the most part. Not a bad mission at all, just some confusing design choices. Number 36. Destroy Unknown MTs. Destroy Unknown MTs is probably one of the most simple missions in the entire series. And I'm not saying that as a slight. It's a great mission for newer pilots who maybe are looking for easier missions after squatters and strikers. They'll stick you in a tube and send you down a very Crash Bandicoot-esque hallway, complete with steamy red pipes and crates that I have to check for secret parts. This mission can really show you just how much damage those chrome basic bishop MTs do, but walking down the murder tube is still a fun little mission for starting players. The reason this operation outranks our other previously mentioned tube mission is that this one has the excuse of being at the start of the game. Auto maps might not be a thing, or the player might not even be aware of them, and most people starting barely have control of their ACs, so just walking down a hallway is totally fine at the start of the game. A solid mission that doesn't have a gimmick, and that's okay. Number 35. Prototype MT Test 1. So I think this is the contender for the quickest mission in the whole game. I think my record is something silly like 4 or 5 seconds from gaining control. It's hilarious. Of course, that's rocking the Meta Kurosawa build, but I'll have to check on that later. Let's analyze this one for what is actually neat about it. First, before we even get onto the Chaos MTs, which are called ACs in the guidebook for some reason, I just want to point out how cool the testing area is. Those weird laser barriers locking you in, the neat, uneven, rough terrain. I always liked getting dropped into this one. When the Harrier starts moving in front of you before you start the mission, for some reason I always thought it looked like a bird with its wings spread out and trailing behind it. Don't ask me why, that image just stuck with me. The fight itself is fun if you run some less powerful weaponry, since the Chaos MTs do have some more AP than most of the enemies in the game. Plus, their movement is pretty uncanny. They always weirded me out when I was up close to them. Unfortunately, the mission is over pretty quick, which puts it at a bit lower on this list. I sure hope they got some excellent data when the MT explodes in 3 seconds. Number 34. Stop Terrorist Threat. I think this might be my first official hot take of the list. I think a lot of people remember this mission very fondly. It does have a lot of good elements. Allies, long paths, water effects, that was a big thing back then, and voice acting. But for some reason, I just don't look back on this one too fondly. I do try to keep all the guards alive, and I'm pretty much 100% certain there is a guard later on that is impossible to save and just explodes because he feels like it. I do think the reason I'm not a huge fan of this one is the fact that it's just double-digit amounts of Bishop MTs. I do like Bishop MTs, but at this point, they were one of the most dominant enemies you fight in the game, and your reward for getting past all of the bishops? A big, scary red bishop. You do get to listen to Dotted Line when you fight him, which is cool. Really makes it feel like a boss fight, but at the end of the day, it's still a bishop. Albeit one with missile launchers and purple guns. I think this is the first mission that most players get that is more of a slog to get through. And again, I'm not saying that as a slight, more as just a fact. There are plenty of dead ends and ways to get more credits by killing all the terrorists, but something just hasn't fully clicked with me on this one, and the guy who explodes for no reason has stuck with me since I was a kid. Number 33. Eliminate Squatters 2. How dare you come here? Don't get carried away just because you are a raven. Unfortunately, a cool voice line just doesn't save this one from living in its brother's shadow. There isn't too much that can be said about this one compared to the one previously mentioned in entry 34. It's a lot of bishops. I'm giving this one a slight edge because it does include those WR750R worker bots instead of more bishops, but it's not a huge improvement. I think this one lacks a certain nostalgia factor that Eliminate Squatters 1 has, but I'll save that for when I go over that mission specifically. Unfortunately, this mission is just another bishop mission. There isn't too much to say. I do like the whole abandoned factory look, but again, that's for nostalgia reasons. This one gets a passing grade. Number 32. Reclaim Oil Facility. So this one is actually a really fun mission that I think has a pretty cool gimmick for people who might not be as skilled at the Armored Core series. In this mission, you are tasked to destroy and reclaim the Tide oil rig by taking out all the flying MTs. The real threats for players of this mission is the fact that if you can't acquire your targets efficiently enough, the flamethrower Tiger Moth MTs will get on top of you and not only strip away your AP in a pretty quick clip, but they will also obscure your vision with the flames themselves. The Tankette Type M floaty boys will also pepper you with missiles to add to your inexperienced mech pilot mental stack. But the cool part, if you can actually hang on and get enough of a grip to stay alive, Chrome will actually bail you out with long-range missile support. I always thought this was a neat little addition. Rarely in the games do the Corpos actually want to help you, since after all, they paid you to do a job. But it makes sense that with a bunch of only airborne enemies that new players might actually have trouble targeting them. FromSoft to be a little bit more lenient with their mission difficulty. After all, there are always harder missions later on. I also really like the water aesthetic, and sliding around in the water and even jumping up onto the rig. It's a good mission, albeit a bit short, totally passable and good in my books though. Number 31. Destroy Fuel Depot. Okay, another hot take, putting this one so low, but I think if you guys hear me out, you'll probably agree with my points. So first, let's address the overpowered elephant in the room. Yes, the Kurosawa laser rifle is on this mission. The Gen 1 Kurosawa is a good contender for the strongest weapon in the entire franchise, but just because this thing is here doesn't make the overarching mission any less tedious. First, it's the only mission, as far as I'm aware, where the noise canceller edition on head parts even functions. If you don't have one, have fun manually targeting all the little hover guys and turrets, more annoying than anything. After that, you have the tedious task of popping literally every fuel container in the joint. It's fun to make them explode, but the novelty falls off really quickly once you can't remember what tanks you have or haven't blown up yet. And if you ran through the first room because you couldn't target anything, you gotta run back into that room and find the damn tanks, while still getting shot by the turrets. When the guards show up, it's a bit more interesting. I like the whole preventing the Ravens escape aspect, but it's still pretty, yeah. If the Kurosawa wasn't here, I would actually probably put this one much lower on the list, in no small part to the annoying siren that's going off the whole time. The Kurosawa saves you from a worse fate on this one, DFD. Number 30, Exterminate Organisms 1. Alright, more bugs. And I think this one is my favorite of all the bug missions. In fact, it is. Actually going into the ant colony to find the queen and blasting away all the little fellas is a great time. Plus the visual storytelling that this hive just kind of erupted out of a wall and started flooding into the city is a pretty funny picture to me. Remember, these bugs are like car-sized, so seeing big ol' ants that just start shooting their little acid bursts would actually be pretty scary. I think some of my favorite parts of this one are infinitely respawning bugs that you can just keep blasting away with. If you have an energy weapon, you can just keep knocking out the little bastards, who explode, by the way. It can be a bit confusing for first timers who don't have an auto map since the tunnels all look the same, but this kind of makes sense for a twisting, winding giant ant cave. Forgetting to bring a biosensor is a recipe for disaster as well, but I do think that's okay, which is why I didn't mention it in the other missions as a downside. Also, I just gotta say, I love the tune that plays as we wind down into the depths. It fits perfectly. A solid mission overall. Number 29, Guard Airplane. Guard Airplane was one that for some reason as a kid, I just never did. I don't know how I missed it every time, but when I got a bit older, I actually really started to like this one. Something about being the Spartan standing in an open field between you and the target makes for some strong power fantasy vibes. I think the reason why I like this mission so much is the fact that the Big Blade MTs are in this mission, which I affectionately call Wheelie Boys. The thing is a gun and missile pods on a unicycle. What's not to love? When you do eventually defend the plane and the doctor takes off from another airport, the big explosion is something I remember from my younger days, and being surprised at how big the explosion was for that thing. The mission isn't really difficult as everything just runs at you, but seeing an air wing of barracudas just drop off a bunch of MTs onto your face is fun as heck. If it was a bit more difficult or an AC showed up, it would probably be higher, but for now, it sits here solidly in the middle of the list. Number 28, Recover Capsules. This one, for some reason, always makes me feel a bit uneasy. Recover Capsules, for me, was always defined by its frankly weird as hell music choice. The wiki states that it's a distorted Japanese broadcast, but I'm not so sure how much I believe that. I personally can't understand the Japanese, but the woman speaking is speaking Japanese. It was always so out of place hearing talking as a backing track to this game and contributed to the Uncanny vibe. On top of this, I always remember associating this mission with Silent Hill, the grungy, rusty colors, the dead and muted color palettes, the difficult to navigate winding paths. It was the closest we got to horror in this game, in my opinion. Fighting all the guard MTs was good too, and dropping down all the holes in the mission into what might be a total death trap was always anxiety inducing. It really does make you feel like you're descending into the dark depths of a lost humanity, a real nuclear bunker made to survive the Great Destruction. I think the only thing I dislike is that all the enemies are the same MT. I'm not a huge fan of missions like that usually. There are exceptions, of course, but this mission is good and a nice mood setter for when the lights are low. Number 27, Stop Gang, Dark Soul. Miyazaki does it again! Dark Souls hinted at decades before the first release. Okay, I kid. But yeah, it's a nice little Easter egg to find that they were using the same name well before Dark Souls was even a concept in someone's mind. I don't know why, but I always love doing missions in the Zom Desert, and actually going up to the tanks. They're pretty cool looking. The mission isn't long, especially if the tanks are idiots and drive into the mines and take themselves out. But for the first game, there isn't very many missions that actually have hard-hitting environmental hazards, and I think that's really neat. Having all their high-speed vertical missiles come at you is also really cool. It throws me off how fast those things actually are a lot of the time. I like using this mission to test weapons and movement to see how precise I can be, since if I mess up, I'm eating a mine for dinner. This is, again, a really short mission, so there isn't too much I can say about it, but the Easter egg of Dark Soul and the fact you get to fight some enemies you don't see in any of the other missions makes for something unique. Number 26. Stop Security MTs. Not to be confused with Stop Security MT, this one has an exceptionally special place in my heart. I mentioned in another video that Armored Core had an official website on PlayStation.com with some game footage playing in the background. This mission was the one that was playing on that Macromedia Shockwave player. To add to that, I love the city aesthetic, and the underground city missions in AC1 and those silly picnic chair MTs always put a smile on my face when I see them. I actually labeled this file in my computer Picnic MTs. Dotted Line once again plays on this one, making the mission, which again is a glorified tube, that much more enjoyable. There's just enough of these things too to punish players who maybe neglect their ammo reserves in favor of other weapons at the start of the game. It's also a nice little exercise in practicing your missile dodging skills as a new player, as there is enough of these guys to make your life difficult, if you advance too quickly. I think I also just love the set dressing of the level. Cars, street signs, buildings. There wasn't as many doodads on the map in previous missions, and this one looks like it's a bit lived in, which contributes to me putting it as high as it is. Number 25. Eliminate Strikers. Arguably one of the darkest missions in the first game is you getting called in to wipe out a bunch of civilians who are protesting their working conditions. This mission really sets the tone for the universe we're in, and while I'm sure that subtle storytelling was lost on many of us when we were younger, it sure as hell isn't lost on me nowadays. Getting into the actual mission though, this mission rewards you for actually exploring the straightforward path you're on by rewarding you with the first hidden item you can find in the series, and it's a hard as hell hitting one to boot too. And while you're moving in a straight line, that's about all you can really do as a new pilot in the series. Most of us probably couldn't even boost properly. Not that you would want to be able to fall off a bridge into all of our deaths anyways. That's insane to me, by the way. Falling to the death, where that isn't really possible in most of the other missions, on our potentially first mission. Crazy. From Software are just a bunch of sadists. Moving forward and gunning down the civilians, we get to collect our first meager paycheck. I think I really like the design of the crane MTs actually peeking out and popping off shots at us in the start of the first mission. It really gives off the feeling of a fortified barricade and the fact that these people have probably been here for a long time. Just try not to think about what you did to them after you get your pay. Number 24. Prototype MT Test 2. A strict upgrade from the previous Prototype MT Test mission in both gameplay, difficulty, and presentation. Prototype MT Test is one that I always like getting. It reminds me a lot of the final battle against Genobi in Nexus. You know, you're in for a fight when the announcer is like, fight with all your might. The upgraded Chaos MT is a much more difficult foe, obviously improved from its previous iteration with harder hitting armaments and faster movement. This guy will even jump at you, putting those reverse joint legs to work. And just when you think you're done, sorry, no break, bust out another one. I didn't hear no bell. Again, I think what I like the most about this mission is the setting. Chrome has enough money and power to set up a small city underground in their robot testing range. And these buildings aren't small either. It probably wasn't a small task to clear out all the land to build out some skyscrapers. Another good mission to test builds on. The optional part is a bit of a letdown as a reward, but it's always nice to see a new part get teased as a payment. Number 23. Remove base occupants. I think starting with the missions around this time is when the whole narrative of the game starts to subtly shift. No more are we just a pilot hired to take on some missions and make some cash to the highest bidder, but now we are an actual target of intentional hits, and that becomes very apparent in Remove Base Occupants. I think one of the coolest things is the fact that this is the only mission where we get to see things underwater. Sea life, underwater effects, and lots of differences in color are all present here, and you move through a lot of tubes in this one. This mission has good storytelling and starts to tee up the rest of the game for the whole Raven's Nest assassination plot that we know and love. The only reason it isn't rated that much higher is, once again, it's a mission with mostly one type of enemy, and a lot of them. If you aren't sick of Crusader MTs by now, you sure as hell will be after this one, especially if you rock a bunch of energy weapons as your main armaments. I have to say though, the breaking out and stealing of the escape pod is a really nice touch. Number 22, Eliminate Squatters 1. Eliminate Squatters 1 is probably way further up here than most people would expect, and it's for a very special reason. Eliminate Squatters has the honor of being the first mission that lots of Ravens probably chose in their first playthroughs, as well as being the first mission people probably played on the demo disc. That alone puts it in the top half. When I was a kid, I couldn't find Armored Core anywhere. The city I lived in wasn't particularly large, and finding AC games was impossible. So what did I do to get my mecha action fix? I played the PlayStation demo disc that had Armored Core on it, and this was one of the 2 missions on it. That and another one that will be mentioned later. I could do this mission blindfolded. It's not a huge flex, the mission isn't particularly difficult, it's just a few bishops, a crane MT, and some worker bot, but it was purely how many times I've played it that contributes to that. Some would say it's inferior to Eliminate Squatters 2 since it doesn't have voiceovers or even as many enemies, but I don't care, it's my list. Squatters 1 gets its spot up here for the memories that many Ravens potentially have of it. Number 21, Remove Gun Emplacement. Yeah, the other mission that was on the PlayStation demo disc that I played. Eliminate Gun Emplacement was also an absolute blast for how short it was. You don't realize how hard those guns actually hit until you notice that your Barracuda actually gets shot down immediately after you are deployed. The nice tropical water effects look great, and the Firebrand aircraft looks so iconic. I love them. How can you say no to a flying pancake trying to murder you? Again, as previously stated, I played this mission literally hundreds of times along with Eliminate Squatters, because it was all I had. And I'm sure lots of Ravens love to play this map in their arena battles all the way through Generation 1. Speedrunning this mission, or even doing wacky things like blading the flying pancakes, is a blast. And the super fast LN SSVT leg parts are a great reward, either giving a strong injection of cash or upgrading you to be an absolutely zippy murder machine in the following missions. It's kneecapped on this list by how short it is, but still has a very special place in my memories. Number 20, Retake Air Cleaner. Raven, Lord have mercy. An actually fun maze level that leaves you scratching your head on the Murakumo support path. I seriously really like the maze-like elements of Retake Air Cleaner, and you knew the first time you played it that there was some sort of hidden part somewhere, and for your trouble, you were rewarded with the second best, in my opinion, hidden part in the game, the WX S800GF. But those missiles aren't the reason this mission is so high on this list. No, it's the absolute mind-bending pathways you have to navigate to find that horrible poison gas container. And the enemies in this area actually hit pretty hard. A nice combination of bishops, mimis, and whirlwinds varies up what you fight in the vents, and if you aren't careful, you can actually destroy the tank at the end, costing you your pay and racking up a 30,000 credit bill on top of whatever ammo or repair fees you have. Look out for those mines too. I feel this mission rewards a well-balanced AC that has an auto map, good jumping or energy, high ammo reserves, and an inquisitive pilot, which puts it well above half of the other missions on this list. It can be a bit frustrating to fight everything in close quarters though, and some builds might get hosed, so it doesn't quite get above 20. Number 19, Destroy plus Escapee. Another story-heavy mission. Well, sort of. Heavy on story for AC1. We really get to start learning more about Human Plus because of this mission. On top of that, fighting on the roof of multiple skyscrapers is really nerve-wracking for pilots who still might not be as comfortable piloting their mech. On top of that, we're told about a hidden part on this map, giving us a fun little scavenger hunt before we put the absolutely mad Human Plus person out of their misery. The lines that the pilot throws out to us, warning us to watch out for something is pretty haunting for a PS1 game that isn't based around horror. What are we looking out for? Getting plussed? Assassinated? Who knows? And the one guy who could have probably given us more information, we just offed. It's a pretty short mission, and the main pull is the allure of that golden GBG XR. But the subtle storytelling of Murakumo getting you to put down the pilot who got his brain fried because of their actions is pretty sinister. It tells a good story for how short it is. I like this one. Also, the wind at the high altitude is an iconic sound effect. Number 18. Chrome Uprising. The culmination of the chaos testing plot that we partook in the earlier missions of the game is actually another really fun mission in the Zom Desert. I remember seeing this in the preview, but never being able to get it, since I was always on the Chrome space path for some reason. Back to the mission though, instead of fighting one of these things at a time, you actually fight 3. I hope you remember all the tests and how these things actually move, because they can kill you. Between being able to evade, pulse rifles, chain guns, and missiles, these guys can really pose a problem. On top of that, we don't get too many blue sky desert missions. I also really liked exploring the military base since it has buildings and stuff. You don't see too many of those. It's a low enemy count mission, but the enemies are at least fun to fight and a little bit challenging. Although them being so late in the game, you're probably already piloting something really busted. And things like the Kurosawa completely trivialize this mission. But then again, it trivialized most of the missions. It doesn't detract from how good Chrome Uprising actually is. Number 17. Guard Wharf Warehouse. Alright, let's do some thieving, some stealing, a bit of burglaring perhaps? I really like this mission just because of the fact that you can immediately turn around, blast open the door, and take the radar. Sure, you don't get paid, but you get a free part, even if it is only a radar. Nothing exemplifies the Raven Creed like just doing whatever we want. The actual mission itself isn't that hard either, but it is cool to be fighting in a building-heavy district and not knowing where our enemies are coming from. If we are able to successfully distract all the enemies for long enough, the mission just completes. Although, I don't know how the security system being back online would stop them from just taking the radar like we did. I find I really like the nighttime missions, and this one goes along with that theme. Seeing the pancake flyers again is always a joy as well. They come in hot. Number 16. AC Battle 2. Our first of the AC Battle missions on this list. In Armored Core 1, it doesn't have an arena function like the other games. Fighting ACs was actually a lot rarer and much more of an event. This mission is probably the worst of the AC battles because of the fact that it's A, super easy since he just takes a knee and then eats whatever you want to hit him with, and B, is probably the hardest one to find, requiring you to both fail a mission and not kill him in said previous mission. Wildcat is really beloved by the community though, not for this mission however, and his confusing mistranslation has mystified English-speaking audiences for decades. When in reality, I believe he says something along the lines of, "Oh, you were the one at the train." That's convenient. Wildcat is also another rung on the Human Plus ladder sub-story that we get, which is, of course, even further elaborated on in Armored Core Nexus. But all that extra stuff doesn't get him a better position on here. Just worth mentioning, I think. The fact we do get to fight him, twice potentially, gets him a nice spot in the top third of missions. Number 15. Worker Robot Removal. An absolute fan favorite for a multitude of reasons, but probably the first one being that I guarantee you that everyone who did this mission the first time walked in, shot a robot, missed, then immediately got demolished by the exploding generators, causing their PS1s or emulators frame rate to absolutely go into free fall. It's a rite of passage for all Generation 1 players. Still, to this day, when I miss, I scare myself. Hell, even when recording this footage, I wasn't expecting to miss, but here I am, panicking and trying to get out of the explosions. It's a ton of fun. Of course, too, this is the premier Farm Human Plus spot, since you can destroy your AC exceptionally quickly, on top of getting those special deductions so you can get your brain surgery. The mission is unique and fun, but not really the combat the series is known for. However, this mission does have these silly little guys. I love them. We should, make a plushie of them or something. Number 14. Destroy Justice. An absolutely sinister mission, really showing how much of a poor loser Murakumo Millennium is when they lose the Corpo War. They decide to take their giant space cannon, one of the weapons responsible for the Great Destruction, and just point it at the surface, killing everyone. I don't really know what their endgame was with that one. Maybe put those terraforming plans to go to Mars into place? Anyways, the mission is renowned for being difficult for first-time players, especially the ones who decide that the best course of action is to blade the laser barriers. They will learn very quickly that is not how you do this. On top of that, you're in a fierce fight with missiles and Gatling rounds flying all around you. I don't know what the plan of the pilots were who are standing in the path of the giant cannon if it does fire, but I admire their devotion to the Murakumo Creed. Blowing up the power supply units in the wall gets you some more time to get to the end, and it can be a real slog if you aren't equipped for it. Plus, there are lots of little extra voice lines too. The inferior ending mission of the two paths, but still a unique mission and deserves its high ranking spot. Number 13. Raven Test. What can I say about the iconic Raven Test that hasn't already been said in the past? It sets the tone for the series. Survive or die. The whole glowing yellow arena that you see is so bright and colorful compared to most of the other missions in the game, which you don't even really realize till later on in the series. The weird chicken walker Storch MTs are also a treat for the eyes, being bigger than you and pushing you around with ease with their quad rifles. Learning how to pilot your AC with literally no tutorial can be difficult for new players, but hey, that's FromSoft for you. Adapt or die, you know? I think nostalgia and setting does a lot of the heavy lifting for the mission on my ranking list, since the mission itself isn't too interesting. It's just two MTs, albeit moderately difficult MTs, that you need to kill, or rather, not die to. It doesn't help that our starting AC isn't that great, and poor energy usage is heavily punished, something new players won't understand until it is far too late. Raven Test, though, is measured by its ability to set the stage for what's going on in Armored Core 1, and it does a good job of that with its nice little briefing at the start. Not to mention its absolutely iconic "You are a Raven" outro line. Number 12. Destroy Base Computer. One of my more favorite of the maze missions. It's the first time we get to see the entirety of the underground military facility in one full sweep that the EERC got us to scout before. Lots of enemies, a good balance of difficulty between them, long mazy corridors that aren't trapped. I don't know if it should maybe be so high, but I really do like going through this one. The real star of the show is the absolutely incredible voice acting that takes place when you finally do find the supercomputer.
You're a Raven? I don't know anything about those things here. What did you hear? Forget it. Prepare to die.
I've been quoting "forget it, prepare to die" for decades at this point, and literally nobody knows what I'm talking about. The giant "no throughfare" sign too always mystified me. The little bleeps and bloops of the computer and the cool rainbow pattern light show going into the main target always stuck with me, and I think contributes to why I rank this one so highly. It's just a good, classic, dungeon-y Armored Core mission. Number 11. Terrorist Pursuit. So, hunting this little octopus bastard is such a fun little mission, and it's so simple in execution. But I think that's why I adore it so much. Between the combination of trying to hit this annoyingly fast little guy and trying to
absolutely prevent him from destroying all the cars in the garage. It's like a mission within a mission, and I'm crazy about that in Armored Core 1. When I first played this game and was trying to hunt him, I was tearing my hair out trying to hit him with my machine gun arms that absolutely chewed through ammo, and I'm sure I destroyed more cars than he did with my AC. But to make things even worse, we gotta kill him before he gets to the ground level, or the Chrome people are gonna be very upset. It adds a little bit of low-stakes tension, and I'm all for that. Things clicked for me when I realized you could body block this little guy, then the mission is a joke, but to have just a good time chasing him, I'll do that any day. Number 10, AC Battle 1. Now that we're starting to get into the top 10 for my ranking of these missions, you're going to start noticing a pattern with most of them. I'll say that there are a few standouts that don't quite fit the bill, but I'm going to see if you can notice the pattern between these picks. So this fight is the better of the two arena battles, because it is significantly more challenging. Fafnir, aka Fafnir, is our main opponent, but the slimy bastard decides it's time to bring some backup. No honor among ravens, eh? The fight between these two can be a bit rough of a fight if you aren't good at focusing a single target, but the two quad-leg enemies are good at blending into one another. Plus, I think Fafnir also has a stronger than normal linear gun. The pay for this mission isn't bad, and it really starts to hammer home that we are in fact one of the strongest out there. Balthazar, is already a highly ranked Raven, and he feels he needs two people to take us on? That's quite the statement. This is the closest we get to an arena in Armored Core 1, and I love the mission for it. It's a great mission to start our top 10. Number 9. Destroy Floating Mines. The final mission of Armored Core 1 and the culmination of all our efforts results in a final cinematic confrontation with Nineball. Well, two of him, but before that, we need to get through an absolute gauntlet of the hardest enemies in the game. Storches, Shiranuis, and Shitonomes, the 3 S's. All of these opponents are absolutely amazing at shredding your AP, whether it be through plasma strikes, rifle fusillades, or pile bunker attacks. On top of this, there isn't a whole lot of room to maneuver, so being deliberate is important. After we dispose of all these enemies, we're unfortunately met with the one thing that stops DFM from being a top 3 mission, and that is the infamous floating block part of this mission. Players hate this part because of 2 reasons. 1, it absolutely murders the pacing of the mission, and 2, it's just tedious. Is jumping across a bunch of glowy blocks really that fun? I personally don't mind it that much, since I normally play mid-weight bipeds, but if you're in a tank, good luck. Quad legs, no energy. Reverse joints? Okay, maybe that one isn't so bad. The rest of the mission is really good. A climactic showdown with the 9 balls guarding the central CPU unit. Of course, the fact that 2 of them showing up really amps up the surprise and makes you feel like you have no idea what's actually going to happen. The verticality of the fight against 9 Ball 2 really makes it a lot harder than you think it would be as well. That is, of course, if you don't cheese them. A fantastic ending to an absolutely superb game. You know, minus the blocks. Number 8. Destroy Plane Computer. We're really starting to get into the good ones now. I've always liked Destroy Plane Computer because not only are the MTs, or I guess more like power suits at the start of the mission, a challenge, even as a stronger player, they're still really annoying to hit. But the fact that the entire battlefield looks like a giant arena, this of course isn't made totally apparent until the headliner of the mission, Kamui Mark 17, shows up. Kamui Mark 17 is one of my all-time favorite non-speaking ACs in the whole series. I've stated multiple times in the past that tank ACs are awesome to run into in missions because they are so rare. We get lots of all the other types through the series, but outside of 1 or 2 tank guys, we don't get all that many. Dueling Kamui in the crater is great. He's got plenty of hard-hitting weapons, primarily his missiles that will come screaming at you if you're airborne, and his near infinite energy lets his plasma cannon be an absolute menace. Once he's dead, you can go and pop the nose of the downed plane in the center of the crater, if you haven't already of course, and complete the mission. I think the only real frustrating thing about this mission is the fact that for some reason, the ground collision for projectiles on this battlefield is higher than the ground collision for the ACs, so the crater itself will sometimes just eat your ammo. I don't think it detracts that much from the mission, however. Number 7. Secret Factory Recon. The twin mission of the rank 40 entry on this list, Guard Factory Entrance. This one has everything I love in certain types of AC missions. Nice open battlefield, rewards for exploring in the form of secret parts, an absolutely incredible soundtrack choice in the music track Integrity. I love this mission, and 9 times out of 10 will pick it over the Guard Factory Entrance equivalent. The mission drops you off in the middle of a river, and you're tasked with finding a hidden entrance somewhere on the level. The mission isn't particularly difficult, but the fact you can just waltz around the whole level shooting the turrets or flying MTs for a bonus is great. On top of that, the music is so calming. Instead of this high-intensity slugfest like most missions are in Armored Core, you're instead just in nature, trying to find this hidden base entrance. The well-received WM-S60/4 missile launcher is in one of the corners, and of course this mission gives you plenty of time to explore and find parts like this. I'm not fully sure why I love this mission so much. I think it's just the fact I get to hear Integrity. Then hearing the buzz of the Hayates come in to finish the job once the task is complete feels great every time. Number 6. Stop gas exposure. Alright, this one I believe is the hottest of all the takes on this list, and I'm sure plenty of people will disagree with me on a fundamental level for putting this one up here, and that's alright. I know that I stated that Stop Gas Exposure was one of the most frustrating missions in the series in my Most Frustrating Missions video, but I have a confession. I love this mission. And it's a weird love-hate relationship, too. There's no other gimmick like this in the entirety of Armored Core 1, and while lots of missions later on try to emulate it in the series, I think this one got it just right. The magenta gas that eats away at your AC isn't actually that huge of a threat, but more of a clock that you have to inevitably pay for at the end of the mission. The real threat is getting swarmed by Crusader MTs and wasting more time in the depths as your armor gets eaten away. I think my favorite part of this mission is just the inevitability factor of it that the game puts us into. It's an absolute stress fest, and when your AP hits those deep red numbers and every single point of AP matters to you, that's amazing. And yes, while this mission can be really frustrating, I do also think it's a well-designed one. If there was 2 of these, that would definitely be too much. But Stop Gas Exposure, I always look forward to nowadays in my replays, and that might be because I'm a vet now. Also, the fact that they trick you at the start with the false wall is absolutely diabolical. I love it. It's just such a memorable mission. Love it or hate it, I think it deserves a high spot. Number 5. Kill Struggle Leader. Another exceptionally unique mission in terms of gimmick, which is of course the Trap House Maze archetype of mission. Unlike the previous mission where you can't avoid the gimmick for the most part, in this one you're rewarded for having a good AC design. The enemies are hard-hitting and numerous. That coupled with the ultra-narrow hallways makes for very dangerous engagements. I'm willing to overlook the one type of enemy criticism I have for this mission because it is pretty unique and the MTs themselves aren't the overarching threat. I just want to take a second to point out the absolute ridiculous design of this level from like a real-life engineering standpoint though. If you think about it, our ACs run at a speed of 100 to 150 kilometers an hour and we're like 30 feet tall. What kind of ruins is this? Who made this? Why is it all carved stone? Who set up those giant fireball cannons? It's absolutely absurd. I adore it. Circulation is pumping through your speakers in the background as well, and really gives a great sense of scale and bewilderment as you move through the maze. On top of all of this, just when you think you're getting close to the end, bam! The floor is blown away by a booby-trapped mine and we're plummeting to our demise, only to find the legendary Moonlight Laser Blade waiting for us on a pedestal. Once we jump up the several kilometer deep pit and move towards the struggle leader, the fight isn't that hard, but the real challenge of the mission is getting to the end. With so many booby traps and dead ends, Kill Struggle Leader makes for a marathon experience that many players look back on fondly. That is, of course, if they made it out of the depths. Number 4. Mop Up Chrome Remnants 2. Mop Up Chrome Remnants 2 has the unusual circumstance of being interpreted completely differently based on whether you take the Chrome or Murakumo split in the path. If you take the Chrome path, you're none the wiser to what's going on, but if you do the Murakumo path, something is certainly up. Didn't we just mop up Chrome's remnants? I don't want to go over too much of the implications of the story here, since I did a whole video on this topic, which I'll link in the description, but this mission is one of those that just makes your sixth sense go off. Why are they sending me into this abandoned facility? Why is there nothing here when the mission is about mopping up Chrome? Then boom, it hits ya. It was a trap. The enemies, of course, being those that belong to Raven's Nest. Lots of the hardest enemies in the game, and to top it off, the cherry on the sundae is our old rival, Boss Savage, shows up to finish the job. Savage's fight is a good one, with lots of hard-hitting attacks, including his trademark 50-shot bazooka. If you try and play coy, his multi-missiles will cut you down quickly as well. He's not the hardest fight, but it's nice to finally get some revenge on him for his underhanded tactics in the Agreas Sea. It's a phenomenal mission that ups the stakes and really lets you know that someone bigger than Savage is coming after you. Both the Chrome Remnants missions are awesome, and this one rightfully earns its 4th place spot. Number 3. Attack Urban Center. Attack Urban Center is unique in Armored Core 1 for being a mission that just doesn't tell you what it's going to pay you right away. Instead, we get a full pass to go absolutely ballistic in a civilian area and cause as much chaos as possible. This one is a lot of fun because you really do just get to go hog wild and blast everything that moves. I personally like shooting the monorail that goes by and blowing up the giant explosive energy condensers on the roofs of the buildings. Oh god, I am a Kisaragi guy. But all good times must come to an end, and eventually the guards do show up. Of course, being the weird police blue bishops, they're absolute pushovers and just contribute to our pay count. I've always loved just counting the chain gun rounds it took to pop these suckers from the rooftop.
Enemy reinforcements identified as a ranking AC. Enemy ranking AC identified as Valkyrie.
Oh crap. Wait, Valkyrie? Like, Ranker Valkyrie? Yeah, and she packs an absolute punch. One of the 3 ACs in the game that just absolutely cheat by having a unreasonably powerful version of a player weapon. Valkyrie will obliterate anyone she makes contact with her insanely tuned slug gun. It's not even close to the power of 9-ball or Fafnir's weapons. And she is mobile enough to keep you on your toes. Valkyrie is my favorite of the arena ACs across all of the games because she just had such a profound impact on me, kicking my ass on the first playthrough. I see those slugs coming at me in my nightmares still. If you do pop Valk, you get to see that Ravens we defeat are removed from the ranking board too, which implies they are killed. It's just a fantastic mission with lots of fun smashing stuff and then getting smashed in return. Number 2. Mop Up Chrome Remnants 1. Fundamentally different from the previous Mop Up Chrome Remnants mission in the fact that we're hot dropped straight into the belly of the beast and are attacked immediately. No rest here. And of course, with us starting the game with a bunch of bishops, we of course need to end with a bunch of bishops. Kind of makes sense though, we are mopping up Chrome, and they are Chrome MTs. And while I would have liked to have seen a few more MTs besides Bishops, for those who know what's coming, the MTs are purely here to waste your ammo and spare AP. Seeing the jagged outlines of the geometry letting us know that we're near the dusky sky is a relief until we hear,
Raven, help me! Monster!
"What the hell is that? Why is it so freaking big? I have to fight that thing?" Devastator is an absolutely brutal fight for people who fight this guy for the first time. Plasma cannons, rapid-fire grenade cannons, ultra-accurate multi-missile strikes, and he's really not that slow either. Devastator will bombard you from a postal code away if you let him, so you have to be smart when closing the distance. Devastator is also our first introduction to giant MTs in the series as well, and personally, I think he might be the most iconic. Although, as all of you guys know by now, I'm biased as all hell for Generation 1. I had an absolutely horrendous time picking this mission, or the one that took first place, for first place, and I originally had this one taking first. But what is more iconic and makes for a better mission? The first giant MT battle, or the first AC battle? When I framed it like that, I couldn't help but put the next mission as first place. So Mop Up Chrome Remnants 1 gets our silver medal today. Number 1. Guard Freight Train. This mission is probably most people's number 1 for this list, and honestly, I get it. It has it all. Voice acting, hidden parts, unique mechanics, and of course, the first AC battle in the series. I know that you can take Attack Urban Center at the same time as this one, but most people remember Wildcat as their first. This mission is phenomenal, and the image of the red AC charging towards us really made a pit in my stomach drop. Was I ready for this? Oh, he has a chain gun too. Crap. The train! So many flash realizations hit us, and we don't really have time to think once the battle kicks off. You only really get to experience that once in your life. On top of that, Wildcat is an absolute fan favorite because of just the various unknowns he exemplifies in the series. He just disappeared and went mad one day? He's not on the ranking boards? What happened to him? Of course, if you're still sparring with the red AC while Boulder is refueling, the most relieving line you can probably hear is, "Refueling complete, we're on our way." I know that my reward for beating Wildcat on this mission is getting to ride on top of the train off into the sunset. I did it the first time I played this mission, and I do it every time to this day. It's a tradition for me. It's kind of funny that both the first place and last place missions on this list have the Welkin aircraft enemies as their main opponents, huh? Just kind of shows the right enemy in the right mission can make or break how people remember it. You can also find the iconic 9-ball head here too if you have enough time to search the boxes, but on first attempt, you probably didn't. Somehow, FromSoft made an escort mission something I was absolutely looking forward to every time. Nothing can really top the feeling that Guard Freight Train gave me in Armored Core 1 for its amazing introduction to AC combat, which set the tone for amazing fights for the rest of this amazing series. And of course, this mission was spiritually remade in Armored Core 2, and also had a faithful remake in Armored Core Nexus. Guard Freight Train has all of the criteria to make it, in my opinion, the best mission in Armored Core 1, so it gets our number 1 spot today. And that's it. Every Armored Core 1 mission ranked. What are your number 1 and number 47th missions? Do you think I was completely wrong about some of the rankings on this list? Let me know in the comments below. If you're looking for a video that goes over some more hidden details of the nest and maybe some fun fan theories about it, check this one out. And if you're looking for some in-depth analysis of the connection between Armored Core 1 and Armored Core 2 with lots of primary source material, check this one out about Leos Klein. I have also started accepting channel memberships. If you want to support me in the work I do, there are 2 tiers for you to join. I won't be doing any specialized content for the members, just some polls and discussions at most. But if you like my work and want to support me, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and if you really like what I do, consider getting a membership. Your views and comments are what mean the most to me, and thank you for keeping the discussions in the comments lively. I'll see you in the next one, Ravens.